And go live again here.
Okay.
All right, we are live at work. We're having some technical difficulties here, but we're live for our CloakedTreasure live stream. I'm gonna kick it off by handing it over to Nick, and Nick can talk and introduce our special guests, the solvers of Stage 6. Nick.
Thanks, Mike. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all out in at least what they called TV land when I was growing up. I don't think we call it that anymore. We have two very important guests with us this evening, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but I believe it's Stefan and Erica, who are the winners of our Stage 6. And did I get it?
Yes.
Yes.
Blend the name and you get Stefanica. Our trivia name.
I like it.
I like it. I like it. And so, we're going to jump right into listening to their experiences about Stage 6. We know as the people who built Stage 6 that, it was a little over 2 months for you as a group to solve this. So you're probably curious to know all the ins and outs of it. So what we're going to do this evening, we're going to hear from Stefan and Erica first, hear about some of their experiences. And then when they're done, we're going to hand the mic over to Greg, who's going to talk to us a little bit about the construction of Stage 6 from our perspective as the builders of the hunt. So I'd like to start off with a question to the two of you. Before we even talk about Stage 6, how long have you been actively playing in the hunt, and what has your experience been through the first 5 stages?
Well, we've been playing since the beginning, like Stage 1. So we got, I don't know where we found it, Facebook, Wishing Adventure Race, I think, promoted you guys. That's how we found you. And we joined, with Stage 1 and totally did not solve the cipher.
Yeah, we started doing like the orienteering racing. It just was something brand new for us, and I think Greg, you were at one of those too, I believe. And then right after that, we're just like, let's try something new. Let's try something that seemed pretty fun.
So you've been with us from the beginning. I assume since you stuck through it this far that you've been enjoying it, but I am curious, were there any of the stages that you thought you had solved or you had solved, you're just a little too slow, or what has your experience been through those first 5?
We have been like so close every single time. So even for the library, we had the book in our hand, but we left the flashlight down in our car, and then we were too embarrassed to go down and get it because first off, we were just like, okay, are we sure we're doing this? We're looking. And then we felt like too embarrassed to go get it and to come back in and use it because it just seemed so wrong.
We were also questioning if you really would have written something in that copy from the stack. So we went back to the car, got the UV light, and then checked the book that was in the public area available, and nothing was there. So we had the book. We were really close. That was one thing. And then I think for the Shakespeare pub in Kalamazoo, we were planning to go there the next day. Then
they solved it like an hour before we were ready to leave our house.
Or the same day, something like that, yeah.
But we didn't have the wine right. So we had the year based on the Goonies, not the game. And then I knew it was the Shakespeare pub because we found something that was talking about Shakespeare, that it was by the fishing equipment, not the actual Shakespeare, but their logo was just so perfect. It was so perfect. So I knew it was that place. I knew that it was the year, but based on Goonies. And then we didn't know the wine. So we were just going to be like a bottle of wine from this time frame or... we were going to kind of fudge that one to kind of see if, how do they react? At least we know it's the right place before we could figure it out. But then before we left our house, I was waiting for him to get off of work. It was posted that somebody solved it like an hour while I'm waiting. Because I'm a teacher. I was off for the summertime. Like, let's go. And then we were waiting.
But we made this kind of our summer vacation activity. So we went for this stage, actually, we went over to, South Haven on Lake Michigan. There was like some sort of pub that had a cellar and whatnot, but it matched perfectly. But like everywhere we go, people stared at us like, what are you talking about? But that's so cool. Tell us about it.
Nice.
No, that's fantastic. And those are the best kind of stories that we love to hear. I mean, those experiences are exactly why we decided to put on this hunt. So it sounds like you are the perfect prototypical participants, and we appreciate that. So let's talk about stage 6. So obviously, as a group of seekers, it was a little over 8 weeks. But if you would kind of walk us through your experience through stage 6, please.
So let me start. So we did not have any clue to solve the cipher, and like I said, we sucked at the stage 1 cipher, so we didn't even give it a try. So how do I share my screen here?
We were very scared of it. I'm gonna walk you through our rabbit hole, and then Stefan will take over where we actually figured out what we were doing. So because we were so scared of trying to do another cipher, we decided that we would just go based off of the map and this graveyard, and then also the chemical compound that's there. So we looked it up, and it kind of connected to lactic acid.
That was the closest we found. We didn't even find the thioladic acid at first. And it was like, also maybe you just switch the O for an S. There's probably a meaning behind it. That was our thought process. So
there's a graveyard. We live just outside of suburbs of Detroit, and there's a graveyard a half mile from us that used to be an old dairy farm. And there's a whole story how it was an old dairy farm, and it's been turned into this graveyard. And it's very much still connected to. It's right on Woodward, so I'm thinking cars, Woodward. So that's where we went. And what's really cool with that is this middle one that kind of looks like a circle with an X in the middle. I was like, well, there's your radius right there. It's X marks the spot. On top of the X is little cars. And I was like, well, this connects back to the Ford, obviously. And then that was not it. So then I was like, well, it's still got to connect to Ford, because now we're thinking everything's connected. So then we went to the Henry Ford gravesite, which has a perfect square where the grave, the metal is over the grave. It was so cool, and it only had about 50 gravestones there where Henry Ford's buried. And I was like, well, that's not it. Well, where is Etzel Ford buried? So we spent 2 good weeks at every single amazing historic graveyard, especially the one in Ann Arbor, really close to where we found this. And then there was a day where you put out a clue where it was like, don't look at the map. You have to do the cipher. And I was like, okay. Well, darn, we can't put that off anymore. We have to do the cipher.
Yeah.
And then,
really, until then, until you said really you only need side 2 or whatever you called it of that stage of the map. It was like, okay, we got to solve the cipher now, right? So there's no other way. And then you came out with that limerick, and that kind of gave it, or confirmed, because we tried periodic table before, doing the math and everything, right? And it didn't make any sense. So, we didn't approach it really systematically at first, just on paper and stuff. So it didn't make any sense, and then we stopped doing it. But then you said, okay, we need to solve the cipher, and then the limerick said no Q and J, right? So that confirmed for us it's periodic table. So we put a little bit more effort in it, put it in a spreadsheet, and then color coded it where it was like just the number and where we got a negative and whatever. And then I was like, oh, this is good, right? I see this BCK. It's like, that's got to be block or black or something, right? So how do I get there? All right, I got to go one step back, don't do the math. And then boom, right? We figured it out pretty quickly when we had it like visualized in the spreadsheet. Except the little thing with the C in here that kind of threw us off, like everybody, right? What is the meaning? And I think I even had a mistake somewhere in here where clear wasn't clear. It was CIEAR, just because I picked up the lowercase
right
as an I. So we had 2 things in here and that were wrong. One was your mistake, one was my mistake, and we were like, okay, what is this, right? Anyhow, once we got this, I don't remember if we had the Musgrave ritual figured out immediately, but we got Osabe pretty quick. actually with help of ChatGPT. So I don't know what I did. I couldn't even reproduce it. Like I must have fed ChatGPT with so much information. When I went back and said, like, can you connect like gold and black and clear somehow to whatever. I don't remember what I asked, but and then it's like, oh, this is awesome. This is great wordplay. This is Osable River. It's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. AU for gold. And then I would have never, I mean, I may have figured out AU for gold, but then Sable for the whatever heraldic armory kind of thing, the term for black.
Yeah.
I would have never thought of that or ever found that without the help of AI. So yeah, so that gave Osable, and then clear. We kind of figured, yeah, it's got to be like a lake or a spring or something, and then there was Yago Springs. So we found that pretty much quick. And then somehow there was this tree theme going on.
No, that's people were posting about these trees, trying to find your tree. So I started looking at famous trees on near the Osable, and it came up with this champion tree, which is the largest, what type of tree is cedar tree?
Big cedar.
Yeah. It was like one of the largest cedar trees in Michigan or something like that.
The oldest started something like that. So we decided, okay, let's go up to Osable River and check out like the tree. You know, it's even tagged on Google Maps, so you can't really. I mean, it was a little muddy to get there, and then there was a fallen over tree that had people push out of the way. But eventually, we got to the tree, and then there was nothing. And then we went to Yago Springs, and I don't think we had the musgrave ritual at that time because we were just roaming around and trying to find something.
Sorry for the snoring. It's the pug. I apologize.
And then we went to the what was the other place?
We named the musgrave because we went to the springs that same day, and we were trying to figure out the. Oh no, we went back to it.
We didn't know the musgrave. Twice. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
In between, okay, we didn't find anything, but also went to the other place. What is it called? The Lumberjack Monument there. So because there's also a spring, also steps down, so that all matched. So we checked out both places without knowing the musgrave ritual. Didn't find anything, and we didn't even know that it was the right location yet, right? And then you gave the option to check the.
We did the musgrave ritual from the cedar tree.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, we were like at the gigantic cedar tree trying to do the musgrave ritual.
Anyway, we didn't know that it was stepping. And something was still missing, right? We didn't have the full connection yet, how it was solved. But then we had the GPS coordinates of Yago Springs that I sent to you, right?
And we were on a rainy day, so we didn't like jump underneath it the first day because it was raining.
The first time we were there, it just rained and everything was, muddy and slippery. And I was like, why he would never put this under the staircase, right? Like people break a leg. I don't know. We kind of be doubting things that we learning as we go. We learn that okay, just do it. Don't question if he would do that or not. You're here, check it out, try it.
Jump over the ledge.
So anyhow, so you confirmed with the GPS coordinates that I sent that it was burning. So next day, I think it was a Friday, or even the same day, we went back up there. It was a Friday, and then we still spent like an hour at least to figure it out. Like we went from bottom up, and I was under there, and then the same situation. Like we stepped down the 36 steps, and there's nothing, right? And then I was like, does he want us to go under here? Maybe, I don't know. And then it was the thing with like, you can't count, you don't count the landings, right? Yeah. So that's 3 additional steps if you don't count them. And then boom, eventually we found it, and we're excited. And
the very next morning we were at the site, or at the
root cellar. Oh yeah. So I looked at this coin, right? I looked at this coin and say like, this is hell, and this is the arrow going down, and it's like without even looking, because I have hiked in the Pinckney Wreck area quite a bit, and I knew that root cellar was there and that chimney ruins there. So I was like, this is pointing exactly to that location from here, because typically, I go hike there and then go to hell at the saloon and have a burger or something. So anyway, okay, that's gonna be it. So next day we go there, But there was no additional clue yet, right? We didn't know we were looking for a QR code or whatsoever. So we brought our UV light again. I'm in the cellar. I'm in that root cellar, scanning every rock, right? Trying to find something. Nothing. We walked around. Yeah, we couldn't find anything. And then took another 2 trips there, right? Until we figured it out. And this was the stage where we collaborated with Skybound quite a bit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Skybound, for the final hint to find the QR code. There's my QR code. Oh, okay. Here's all the stuff we did for stage.
I got out the compass on a map that we had. So I had out my math compass and like figured out the angle 155 on the coin is the angle I use. And I thought 3, because I'm like, well, that's either radius of 3 or maybe it connects back to clue 3, the library. So I had, what you see there is like, I was thinking it's inside that pie slice is what we figured.
We initially thought, yeah. And then even like, we got sidetracked on this one too with your phrase, you'll be gone and on your way. And your gone was related to not using degrees, right? Using gons or grads instead of degrees. And we were like more thinking literally, oh, is there a train depot maybe, or a boat launch? So we're starting looking into that because we've been already to the root cell and didn't find anything. And so we going back, there's like this old train depot in Pinckney. So we're going there and checking that out. Yeah, anyhow, we did not solve any of your actual clues. We did not know that it was 180 point whatever the grads. We did not know that the UN number of this molecule is the distance. We just guessed this all just based off the coin.
All that hard work. Work.
I gotta say, really kudos to you. Like, this is impressive how you put this together, right? I mean, this really something. Even coming up with these ideas, how this is, building a story. It's great, and it's fun to learn even afterwards if we didn't figure out what it was meant to be.
But I love the final stage because once we went to the library a million times. We were inside it, we were outside it, we were where these beautiful stained glass windows were. We found the inheritance stained glass window. So we are outside in this courtyard doing the Musgrave ritual from the stained glass window because I was convinced we had to do the Musgrave ritual at every single one. And we weren't, but we finally figured it out with your final clue about the time that you were releasing. So that was when I finally had the book. So I literally asked chat, do these numbers connect at all to Ingram versus Musgrave? And they're like, yeah, it's the volume and page number. So now I had a book to ask for. And we were there for, 45 minutes trying to find it ourselves. And then we ended up with a really nice librarian who helped us. She was wonderful. And that's when the other people were like 3 minutes behind us and we were trying to sneak around behind them. But what I love is I'm in one area in the reading room trying to find it, and he's with the librarian in the other, and we're going like this, and we're going to meet up. And he comes to me, and he has the book open to the page. He's like, I found the book, but there's nothing here. And I'm looking at him. At first, I thought that because I can see it sticking out of the binding, I thought he was just being really kind to let me pull it out. Like, oh, that's so sweet, honey.
Great.
Thank you letting me pull it out. He's like, there's nothing here. And I'm like, it's right there.
And I was like, what are you talking about? There's nothing.
It's
right
like,
there.
it's right there. I just pulled it out.
Just think he would have just put it back on the shelf and I guess I was wrong. And the next person right behind, right?
For sure.
Save the day.
I did not cross my mind to look. I had the UV light, of course, and scan all the pages, but look in the binding. And I guess your hint with the bound, pointed to the binding. I mean, afterwards you always know, but at the moment, the trickiest part about this, like Erica said, we've been to the library 3 times as well, like in the underground, and we did research. We got this call number here from the desk, which pointed to that book. Finding this book and the call number, that was the biggest thing, and this is where it was really actually AI proof. Like we went into AI, we went into the catalog. Even there, like we at the library, we going in the catalog. You look up Musgrave. The only thing you find is this thing here, the Musgrave ritualists. But this is like in a in a rare section that you have to make an appointment 10 days in advance to get a copy of the book. I did like 3 weeks ago, right? I requested three weeks ago. I go and make this appointment, and it would have been last Wednesday. I think I had the appointment, but then you had a couple times confirmed there's no restrictions to access. Right. It's like, okay, there's no point going there looking at this book. This is not going to be it. So anyways, like the final was the times really, the 159 and 356. Of course, we picked that up from your announcement. We're going to announce that at that time. Okay, this is Fluke, right? And then you found it with putting those numbers in. And then Chet actually confirmed, oh yeah, you can go to the Michigan Law Library and get volume 159 of the appeals court records, and it's on page 356. Right?
But we found it first in the actual law library, and there was nothing.
So
there.
there's three copies of that book in the library. One is in the sub 2, I think, underground. One is in the stacks, and one is in the public reading room. So we were in the sub 2 first, and looking there, flipping the shelf over to see if the SD card is underneath or something, because there was not in the book. And then the librarian offered, well, technically the stack is only for students or whatever, but I can get the book from the stack. And it's like, I'm thinking back in my previous, like, oh, he wouldn't do that. And I like, maybe he would. Like, so I asked her to get that book. But then we actually diverted and said, like, let's check out the public reading room first. Yep. And she helped us actually go up there and find that book. And that was, so she was excited, by the way. She had a blast. She was super happy to help us, super happy to find it.
She hugged us and took a picture. Yeah. So there you go. That's how we found it.
That's the story.
Very cool.
So Nick, we'll have to write that down. Our core.
No, that is a fantastic story.
Librarians.
I think I put like 2,000 miles on the car in August.
Jesus. Absolutely.
Oh, gosh. That's awesome.
So I do have one question. You brought up something during your tale. You had said, there were a couple of aspects, or at least the one aspect where you were collaborating with other seekers. And I want you to just, obviously we have said, hey, seekers, if you go on a Discord, there are, we have a Discord server, there are opportunities to interact with other seekers, et cetera, et cetera. But I sometimes feel that the cohort of seekers doesn't really listen to us. Or I believe that we have seekers who still have not gone on to Discord. So if you would, in a minute or two, just kind of describe what your experience has been on Discord, or maybe out in the real world interacting with other seekers in the hunt.
Well, it was pretty boring at first on Discord. Nobody was really interacting. And then I don't know, I think we might have been the ones who just started posting pictures of us getting stuck in the mud and the tree and whatever. And then like once it started to be like, oh, this is fun to kind of share about our adventure, more people started doing it. So I think also the people who might be helping each other are the ones that are posting there, where you almost feel like you know them. Like I keep teasing him that Skullbone is his new best friend, and I'm like, do you even know his first name? And we don't, but maybe he'll share it. And then it's just been fun because when somebody's been struggling, like I might be like, hey, do you need any help? And they're like, yeah, they're grateful. And then like, we'll get you back next time. And I think it really started when we were so close with the libraries at the stage 3, somebody emailed me and helped me give us information when we missed it. And it was just really nice. So the next time I saw
the Detroit library, stage 3, whatever it was. Yeah.
So the next time I saw somebody struggling, I reached out to them. Good odds won. And so, and then, so good odds won, and I kind of talk back and forth a little bit, and he talks to Skullbone, and it's just really been kind of nice. I think those are the two, which I think is funny when we were saying, we're never going to solve this password. That password one was insane. We would have never solved it, ever. The
stage 7 password.
The stage 7, and it was both of those two that had said, hey, 4 brains are better than 2, better than 1, we'll help you. And
what made it easier, like especially on the stage 6, was there was 3 phases or sub-stages to it, right? So you wouldn't jeopardy your winnings if you want someone to get to 6-8, right? And that's kind of how it started for me with Skyborn. Yeah. we started talking. I forgot how it started, but anyways, and he similar to us, he had figured out like the Yago Springs pretty early, but couldn't find anything there. So I just gave him a little clues, more like, okay, don't spoil it right away, but just tease him a little bit here and there. And then once he was there, it's like, I can't find it. And it's like, okay, did you check that stair? Did you really lay down and look under there, jump under the staircase? And then he found it too. So that was exciting. And then in return, we couldn't figure out how to find that QR code there in all those trees. Like once you're in the woods, you figure out finding a single tree is basically impossible, right? So unless you have really explicit instructions how to get to that tree. So that was the piece we were missing. And he's like, well, you gotta do the Musgrave ritual starting from the cellar, and then it leads you right there, right? So he helped us find that in return, and it was a pretty good experience. We like that.
But I tell you, going for 6C, we're a little more quiet.
6C was a little bit more
like no money's on the line. Yeah. A little more quiet.
No, that's fantastic. That's great. I am so happy for you guys. I'm so happy that you're enjoying the hunt. Your experience is exactly what we're hoping everybody's experiencing. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't have any more questions. I don't know, Mike or Greg, if you had any more questions for Stefan or Erica, or Greg, is it time for you to go through the official solution?
Yeah, I'll go through the official solution, but Stefan and Erica, absolutely chime in. If you're like,
can I ask one question really quick?
Sure.
Do you guys have merchandise? Because when we're out there seeking, if we could wear something, that would be a great way to get the word out. We need some merchandise. Like we'll purchase
yeah, we do. We have a store. It's the link is right on it's on the ticker right now. So we just launched it. We'll throw it into chat, and we'll send an email out to everybody as well, so they can pop in and grab a CloakedTreasure shirt or hat, or I'm not sure what we've got in there right now, but yeah. So finally, we're there.
Nice. All right, Mike, can you swap over to share my side desktop, or do I have to do that?
You'll have to do present or invite, and then you can present, and then I'll add it to the screen.
Let's see.
I'm excited about the upcoming stages as well. We were talking a little bit before we came on about how it's such a fine line that we have to walk, because we have to make it hard enough where you're not going to solve it in a day, but not so hard that it's going to take 8 weeks. And then you never really know, because it's like the 4 or 5 of us trying to do something, but not knowing what the collective brains out there are going to do. So we have to be like smarter than the collective brains, but not so smart that none of the collective can do it. So it's a fine line. I think we found the high end of the difficulty spectrum.
Right.
So we're going to try to dial it back a little bit for the future ones. So
I think we failed on 3 of the 6 then, right? Because we've had 2 that were 1-day stages and 1 that was pushing the 8 weeks. So although
it's tough,
being at 4 months in, that's right about where we wanted to be. So okay, I'm going to scroll through these slides pretty quickly. This is just reminding everybody that we paid out about $6,000, but this is actually slightly under. It's $24,900 right now of prizes still to go. So there's quite a bit to do in the 4 stages remaining. Just a little bit of a map. The small little red dots are stage 6. So those were the 3 locations that you had to get to in Michigan, versus the blue dots, which were the boots on the ground for stages 2 through 5. So that's kind of where we've covered in Michigan so far. The high level stage 6 outline, which you both covered, is Yargo Springs had a coin located under step 36. Pinckney State Recreation Area had a QR code on a tree located near the stone cellar. And then 159 Mich App 356, which is the Michigan Court of Appeals court reporter, in the public reading room at the Michigan Law Library, had the SD card hidden in the binding. So highest level, that was, took me 1 afternoon to drive to those 3 places, put the clues, and we're done. Now, a couple of pictures we've got that you've shared as well. You've got a Yargo, you've got the stone cellar, you've got the absolutely gorgeous University of Michigan Law Library. And that's a little challenging for me to say because I'm a Penn State grad. I don't necessarily get along with Ann Arbor, but the law library is impressive. As you pointed out in your discussion of it, the map was really challenging for folks because there's so much information, and without context, is the gravestone, does that matter? Does the little question mark in X, what about these letters here and here, versus the cipher, and then the information around the acid in the middle. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. I do know that a number of folks solved the periodic cipher pretty easy. I think my first hint was elementary, my dear Watson. So I think some people figured out that those were numbers on the periodic table, and whether they did what you did, which was put the Excel spreadsheet together and try to do the math first and then get a letter, which makes no sense, or you have to do the letters first and then kind of do subtraction of letters. But that was a good explanation of how to do it. A couple of people asked early, well, since the stage had been solved, and you did as well, the loyalist advantage, what did that mean? And if you're familiar with the Treasure Island book, one of the main advantages to the captain's folks was they holed up in an old fort that had a natural spring, whereas the pirates were out in this swamp-infested Mosquito Bay, and they ended up all getting sick. And that's kind of why the captain and his men had the advantage. So that was a really nebulous shout out to the hint, but that's why it was there. I think you covered this well, so this will be up on the website, but this is how the cipher is actually solved. Each element has a letter. You can do the subtraction. The E minus the U gets you an E. That leads you to where gold and black meet clear, know the Musgrave family, and step down the sum. Down is where I made the mistake looking at a periodic table where I swear the element CN looked like an ON to me, and I apologize for that. So that was really the first piece of it. Again, to walk through that, AU, as you pointed out, is the chemical symbol for gold. Sable is a synonym for black. And clear, now clear was pretty confusing to folks because the Au River is known as the cleanest, clearest water in Michigan. So I think a lot of people thought that was just a reiteration that they were at the right location on the river, but that's a 200-mile river. So I was really pushing towards the spring, which was what we kind of meant out of the clear piece of it.
To us, that was pretty clear because it said where it connects or meets, right? So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it's got to be two things, not just one.
Yeah, and I think a couple people found some areas near the headwaters of that they thought it fit really well. So in any event, we didn't know. I thought this might be solved in a week. This first part of it took a couple more than that. So it's just kind of a guess for us. The Musgrave ritual, again, with a hint being elementary, my dear Watson, kind of pushing you to Sherlock Holmes. The Musgrave ritual is 10 by 10 north, 5 by 5 east, 2 by 2 south, 1 by 1 west, and so under, which leads you to that step 36. So that's kind of the real high level of how to solve 6A. Now the hints got to be very interesting, and some of these people picked up on, some of them you may learn something when I walk through. But we had the first hint via the live stream where I said, I'm giving you 3 hints, but I only made 2 statements. And the statement was elementary to my dear Watson. And then I said the prize was an SD card. And, what I was trying to give to people there was the elementary was really a dual hint. It was the periodic table and Sherlock Holmes. So 2 hints in one. So that was my way of being clever. I don't know if it worked, but at least a few people found the cipher from that.
I had that written down literally what you said. Like, it's something that I already said, and I rewatched that video probably 10 times. Still didn't pick it up. So I get it that it's 2 hints in one, but that was off the good.
Yeah, and again, some of these are real. Again, we've had a couple stages that have been solved in a day or two. So it just depends on your frame of mind and what context you bring on whether this is easy or not.
We saw a lot of graves with the name Watson on it, though. Famous Watsons. We looked them up.
Indeed.
We found their graves.
Well, and if I can go on a slight tangent, we have a couple of folks that were absolutely convinced, not for stage 6A, but for, well, get back, not for 6B, which was the stone cellar. They were at the stone cellar for 6A.
Oh.
And they're like, no, it has to be here. There's a Doyle Road and a Watson Lake.
Oh, we went on
And,
Doyle Road. Yes,
like,
we were on those roads too. Yeah.
Right. So
But for 6B, we just like it connected back then to all these things, to these hints, and we're like, oh, we're going Doyle Road, and then there's this biolab thing from Michigan. It's like, I mean,
Well,
that is
that's
kind of a
chemical.
chemical
Right.
connection. Maybe it's unreal.
and I would like to be able to smile and say that was all 100% intentional. Some of those things I learned about from other seekers where I'm like, I never knew there was a Watson Lake there.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's cool. It would have tied in nicely, but in any event. The second hint was a week later, and that was the limerick with the CD, and that was referencing where we have the letters C and D on the corner. The Q and the J obviously don't show up in the periodic table at all. They're the only two letters that don't tie to any elements. And then this part here where I was saying try part 1 was hinting for the first time that there's more than one part, which I don't think anybody knew at this point. So that was kind of
he picked it up fast, but I didn't believe him.
I picked that up
Okay.
when you even talked about the SD card, but because you didn't say that is the solve to the stage. You said like the final price. So there was a weird wording. I was like, what's he talking about?
Yeah.
And then that confirmed it. It's like, oh, there's definitely multiple stages to this.
Okay, good.
It's been interesting working with somebody who we're kind of competitive, and we have different way of looking at things. So it's been really interesting where I'm like, no, you're wrong. And he's like, yeah, right. And it's like been going back and forth. It's been so much fun to do.
Cool. All right, so the next hint for this stage was where I asked people to vote on what kind of hint they wanted, but I did that wearing my bacon shirt, which if you haven't seen that in the video, it's barium, cobalt, and N. So 3 chemical elements, their periodic chart, they've got the numbers. So that's attempting to give away that you need to look at those periodic tables. From that, I think everybody said, hey, we want you to narrow down what we're looking at. And so that's what we said is the first page of that map is really all you need to look at for this first stage. So the fourth hint on this was where I realized I made the mistake. A couple people pointed that out to me once they really dug into that table. So we gave a couple of different hints there as kind of pennants. And that was the 3 locations, that you were north of the 43rd parallel, and that the SD card was in a major metro area, which obviously didn't help you on 6A, but carried over for additional parts of the puzzle. So let's see. We posted the video explaining you can ask for your own hint, and this was still to the point where I think we were 4 weeks in and nobody was really close from what I could tell in Discord. Maybe they've been up to Ausable, but they hadn't put all the pieces together. So I wore a shirt that said Spring Fury on it, which was an adventure race. I interestingly did it in the Pinckney area like a decade ago, but it was the only shirt I had that had spring on the front. So that was a hint kind of in the wardrobe. I also had a bottle of spring water on my little table in the background that was, again, hinting it's the spring. And then we had about a third of our folks that are registered ask for one of those type of hints. A few folks asked for the cipher. A couple teamed up with other people and asked for 2 hints, a directional hint or a heat map hint. And I think that's where we got the solve out of a number of you pretty quickly after that. So that was kind of a fun way to get some engagement, asking for what kind of hint do you want, or do you want a personalized hint? So that was fun for me anyway, over Labor Day weekend. So that kind of align with what you understand now with the stages? Yeah. Okay. Again, in its simplest form, 6B was the coin with the center point, the angle of theta and the radius. And, you know, we sort of, I think it pretty clearly gave you Hell, Michigan as the center point. Depending on what you put in your software, you can get a couple of different coordinates, but they're very close to each other. So this is what I ended up using. And then radius and theta obviously were on the back side of the map. So just kind of explaining where that is, the map here reads a little bit crooked, but it's 180.2456, which in the unit of gradients or gons is, I don't know, about 155 degrees.
I'd be interested to know if anybody else has heard of those before, because I know Skullbone has, but I have never heard of those phrases for angles.
We actually just measured the angle on the coin.
On the
It was
coin.
155 degrees. I was like, that's close enough.
Good.
Close. It's close. But yeah, there are some very obscure angles if you go back into history, like the Romans had their own version, but the gons is actually used pretty commonly for surveying because it's 100 degrees per corner or per 90. So it's 400 in a circle instead of 360. It makes surveying a little bit easier. And then the thiolactic acid, I put it in a diamond and said the radius is within, and was hoping people would pick up that chemicals on that placard that we all see on the highway or at railroad crossings, that is the UN symbol for various chemicals. Usually you see them for gasoline, which I don't remember offhand, but I've never seen one for thiolactic acid, but I knew what I wanted, which was the 2936. So I looked up in the reverse, what UN placard code is 2936. Oh, okay. Drew out that molecule and thought, well, we'll see if anybody's chemistry oriented enough to figure this out.
I would be curious if anybody really thought of that or not, because this is way over. Like, I don't even look at this truck like that. Like,
so what's interesting is, and again, I'm trying to do things where I can stump AI. That's where I get the fun out of this.
Right.
And Mike does as well when we build these stages. And so many people were looking up thiolactic acid, and I got folks saying, is it the molecular weight? Is it the specific gravity? Is it the freezing point? Is it the melting point? Is it the radius of the atomic orbitals? And I'm like, well, you can Google all those. So maybe, but to be a little bit more clever, I was trying to link something that AI will never solve. AI would never get this.
And it's actually what makes it fun, right? So it's not, we do use AI a lot to try, just to pick its brain or whatever I call it and get ideas. But it's really, really, I gotta say, except the Osabe connection that it made, nothing happened so far.
Yeah, and it said a couple of them it will. The Ausable was one that was clear. Again, this one I went in 3 different, Copilot and ChatGPT and Gemini, and it puked all over this. It had nothing. So
we ask everybody. Like, I have my sister and my mom and my dad, and he has his brother in Germany and coworkers, and it's just like we're just spread out. Who's got this piece of knowledge for us?
Well, and did you pick up that thiolactic acid is used in hair salons?
No, but it's a part of like decay, wasn't it?
It was someone else who said that.
Yeah.
There were some folks that were looking at hair salons.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, ooh, wow, that's impressive. So that was kind of how the build went. The solve, again, if you use a GPS visualizer, you get a map like this. There's a number of pieces of software. These are the numbers that I put in to get from point A to point B, which puts you right on that stone cellar. And I think a couple people must be shorter than me, because I had one video of someone who stepped off the ritual very early on, right from the cellar. I could see the tree in the background of their video, and they couldn't find it. And I mean, I felt kind of bad, but I'm like, they're not 2-foot steps. They're 1 meter. I'm a tall person. You got to take long steps.
Well, like I said, we've been to because we figured we thought it would be that location just based off guessing, like the next day after we found the coin. And like with the UV light and everything, I've been basically even like roaming around the area behind the chimney and the tree is really just, I don't know, a couple feet away from the chimney.
Right,
We are
right.
so close, but
I
again,
never saw it.
if you don't know what you're looking for, and even once you know you're looking for a tree, it's still impossible. Even if you're standing right next to the tree,
Right.
you
That
don't
was
see it.
another one. You were looking and didn't see it. I'm like, it's over there. It's right
Yeah. I mean, just when I put that up, a family was walking in that area, and the kids were, of course, out in front. And I absolutely scared the bejesus out of my kids. They never saw me. I'm like just behind this tree, tacking in a QR code, and I pop out, and they had a moment. So anyway, that was the simple solve. The hints on that. Again, we revealed that you were searching for a QR code. I mentioned that theta was in plain view. And I used that very odd terminology where I said, once you know that, you'll be gone and on your way. That was my nod to the unit. And I think people are smart enough now. When I use normal language, I'm probably just talking. But when we add something a little out of the ordinary, there's usually a reason for it.
Yeah, obviously that pointed to a train depot.
Right.
Except it didn't.
It did not.
So later, again, we're kind of giving a little bit higher frequency of hints to push the stage along. So later we mentioned the QR code was on a tree, and then it shouldn't be more than 10 paces from the trail, using the paces term to try to get people to think like, maybe I need to pace off the Musgrave ritual, and I don't need to run 40 miles into the woods to find a random tree. That there's a sequence to this. And then I think I also mentioned that I'd given a hint on the angle, but I didn't mention degrees or radians at all. I was kind of very obtuse with that, pun intended, and just trying to get people to think like there's other units out there. It's not just degrees or radians, which somebody had asked me very early on. Is it in degrees or radians? And I'm like, well, that information is out there on the angle. So those were, again, trying to get people kind of moving on the right direction. And then just to finish this off, and you probably can't read these on the screen, they're pretty small, but I put up all of these Socratic questions, which is actually a nod to the 6C hint, because for anybody that's watched the Paper Chase or has been in law school, all the classes are taught Socratically. They don't lecture, they ask the students questions. So this was kind of a hint at legal things to come. And so I just sort of reiterated with questions, why do you think I did this? And obviously that was enough to push a few people along to find that. Now, whether some folks just got lucky because they stepped off the Musgrave ritual from the cellar, or folks really nailed the radius and the angle, I guess we don't care as long as they moved on to the next stage. And so for the folks that haven't seen this, and I really don't know the numbers. I'm guessing 10, 12, 15 folks actually got the QR code because of the complexity of this.
Okay.
But in any event, if you scan the QR code, it got you to this page that just says you must solve the case with the 86687 number on it. Obviously, the colors and the font used for the M are University of Michigan. The number, oh man, did people go on rabbit holes with this? But from hindsight,
Really?
recognizing that's the docket number of the case.
We found that while running back to our car from the woods.
I would be interested.
Nice.
Yeah, we found that on the way back home. Like this is the case in Michigan with that number.
We're running back in the woods, like, okay, what's this number? And
Yeah.
Michigan, Michigan this. And before we got to our car, which was only maybe a mile away from the cellar, we knew what case it was. Like before we got to our car in the parking lot.
Nice.
Yeah, and I don't think everybody got there that quickly. And in fact, I was just doing this I don't know, a couple of days ago to kind of put this together, and I just tried docket searching, and it wasn't real easy. Now, if you put the word Musgrave in, if you search for Musgrave, it pops up instantly. But just
if you
going
put
off
in
that
Michigan case 86687, it's the first hit.
it popped up. Okay.
Yeah.
And we knew it was right because it said Musgrave. So then we're like, that's it. Yeah.
So, and that makes it interesting because I don't know, again, how many people were playing at this stage, but I was thinking, okay, I gave you the book. This is going to be a day, maybe two, before somebody figures this out. But with there being multiple copies and not maybe knowing exactly where the book is in the library, or that it's stuck down in the binding, it obviously took a little bit longer.
We didn't realize, I guess, I don't know a lot about where you store law cases. Didn't know there's books of these.
Yes.
So, and then when we did look in the library catalog, you put in Musgrave and you put in Ingalls versus Musgrave,
Or you
and
put
nothing
in the
comes up.
docket number and nothing comes up. So we didn't know that this book existed up until last Friday or Saturday when we found it. That and even our research, and I think like when I talked with Skyborn about the same thing, and he said he had the same experience. He could not locate the physical copy of the case record, right? And all the research that we did beforehand only told us, oh, you got to go to the Court of Appeal in Detroit, or there was another one in Flint, I think. And request a copy from the clerk. I mean, it's like, that's not it, right? That can't be it. It needs to be at the law library somehow.
And then we went through that reading room, through there down to the library so many times, but there's so many people studying, and we were trying to be so quiet. I never once even looked at the books around. And to me, in my mind, I'm looking at these, nobody touches those books. They're like for decoration or something. Like how many times we walked by there, I had no clue what those books were, that people could read them, that people did anything with those books. So every time we went through, that was just a beautiful room to walk through. And we never, ever even considered that something would be in that room.
Well, then I succeeded.
You did.
So again, the hints on this one, I did a video recap of where we were, put a few more plugs in there for the legal system. So the appeal, which was just hinting at the legal system, but also there was a Michigan appeals book if you hadn't found kind of what you were looking for. Again, I was surprised that nobody knew that the books existed, and that seemed to be the sticking point. So I was telling folks, with the next hint, well, you have to find the book, and people were like, well, no, duh, we have no idea how to do that though. So some of my hints weren't very helpful because I didn't know what people were struggling with.
Right.
And then,
that first thing really, when you like solve versus find, it's like, oh my god, not a clue. That's what we're doing all the time.
See, and I was thinking that people might be like looking in the case, like reading it online to try to find something in the case that would lead them, as opposed to putting hands on the physical book.
Yeah, and Skullbone just threw a note in chat, said the case was easy to find early on. He knew the case would be old enough to be archived, and he tried repeatedly to search the library within their own system.
Yeah,
and you don't find it. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah,
and we did it twice, up until we knew what exactly. And you don't even find this in the catalog. You have to ask someone. It's like we're looking for volume 159. Of the Court of Appeals from 1987, and then they can point you to it.
And I don't know how much you guys troll around on social media and things, but if you look me up, you'll see that I have a law background, and so to me this was a 3-minute exercise. I drove to the Ann Arbor Library. I knew exactly where that book would be. And put the SD card in, and then went to lunch. It was very straightforward for me because I knew those Mishap books. I had to do that in legal research, but that's a pretty obscure piece of knowledge to know, which is what made it challenging. So I think people realized the rest of it. So again, we said we would release 3 hints last weekend. The times were very specific. Obviously, that was a clue to the specific version of the reporter you were looking for. That first one was just the solve replacing find, which apparently angered a lot of people, and nobody liked me for that. So I apologize, but I didn't know what you were struggling with. The next one was
actually that was helpful. So we figured out the color coding. Actually, you had a similar thing on your Facebook, like for like I think you had some giveaways earlier to get a free entry or something.
Yeah.
And there was something with cards that also had color coding. So we figured out the color coding, and it was what was good that this
Inside.
was the it confirmed all the things that we
Right.
had, right? It had the 159, the 356 inside,
Indoors
the
or
pier
something.
or whatever. Like all the things that we picked up, it confirmed. And that is really valuable actually. Like because we pick up a lot of things and 10% of that is actually helpful, right? So having confirmation that something you picked up is actually a clue, that is really helpful.
Right. And that was kind of what I was hoping, because again, we had talked about it as a group saying it's time for this to end. So we're going to make it a little bit of a race. And you know, congratulations to being the first folks to get over there. So nicely done. I think that's the last one. These will get posted on the webpage. Oh, obviously the best picture of all.
Horrible picture.
Well, you know
That's
what?
great.
We have the book. That's what matters. So let's see. I'm gonna bounce around with a couple other things here. So I think since we're running out of time here, it's probably time to throw this up. So for folks that need to get over and start stage 7, I added the title. So usually there's a little bit of a hint there. So spiritual education.
Oh, we
Oh.
didn't know the title yet.
Yeah,
that
that's
helps.
brand new today. And so this will be out on the website. I think I have to click a button to take the password protection off, which I'll go do over on my other screen, kind of in the background.
Can you
But
zoom in, Greg?
Say what?
Can you zoom in on that so we can blow it up?
In theory.
Okay.
There
we go.
Good enough for you?
I think so.
So, and again, for folks that maybe got a little bit frustrated with the miles on their cars and the number of riddles and pieces to get through on stage 6, this is a one and done. This riddle, go to one location, find a sign. So, and I think the prize for this one is up to $1,300 now. So congratulations to both of you, Stefan and Erica, for stage 6, and good luck to everybody else on stage 7 now that it's released.
There we are.
I did not see any other tomorrow.
A return to the assemble.
And I didn't see any other questions. I threw it in Discord, see if anybody had any questions for like a Q&A. And I didn't see any others in chat. Skullbone did, but you answered it. Like, where were you able to find the book in your search? You answered it, Greg, and then also Stefan posted in there how he found it as well. So if there's anybody else watching right now, we can hang on for another minute or two if there is like a Q&A, if you have any questions, or even if Stefanica, if you guys have a question for a Q&A type of thing, we're happy to engage a little bit longer. We're not quite to the hour mark, so.
I wish people could know what your password clue was and then what the answer really was, to know just how your mind works, because that was so interesting.
That was a far stretch. Like,
that was so funny.
So maybe I can quickly, or maybe Greg can explain quickly what was going on with the password.
Yeah, so the password was, I think the right word for it was diabolical. So it was,
speaking of inside Greg's mind.
Well, yeah. Right. So it was the 7-digit number that is stenciled onto the crate at the end of Indiana Jones. So that's where they box up the Ark of the Covenant, and they have this "do not open ever" 9906 something or another.
But your clue was a mountain Ararat, which takes you to a note where they think Noah's Ark landed.
Right. Noah's Ark.
Noah, so you had to connect Noah's Ark to the Ark of the Covenant to Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Right. So
Greg and I were talking like, those are not the same arcs, right?
Right. So you had to connect two unrelated, well, I guess they're related biblically, but they're somewhat unrelated arcs. Both were a final resting place of an ark. And so Mike and I were talking about that, and he's like, no, you just have to give that one away. That's not fair. Nobody's gonna.
We did probably 5 straight hours of A lot.
And it's just not like, that's why when you ask me, you know, Greg, for everybody, right? Greg had asked me what I would prefer to, you know, give a different, easier clue or different password that is easier, straightforward to sort, or just get rid of it altogether. I said, like, you know, we're doing this to get out of the house. I have no desire to sit for 5 hours in front of my computer and try hacking passwords. I work in IT. I'm in front of my computer the whole day. I want to get done with the computer and leave the house.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, I'll just get rid of the password.
So we'll be boots on the ground tomorrow.
I think after stage 6, that is a fair assessment. Now, no promises. Mike has done a fairly nasty job of building stage 8 and a portion of stage 10. So you can't blame me for those, but they should be a lot of fun.
Just
I'm not sure I like the fairly nasty. I think it's gonna be a ton of fun, and I think people will love it.
Is only stage 10 another multi-staged one, or you're not giving this away? What?
Well, you know, so no, I don't mind talking about that for just a second. So interestingly, we don't know the answer.
Okay.
So I'd love to say that we had 10 stages built and they were already pre-built and everything was out there and we just pushed the button. But that's not necessarily how we're doing it. As we're learning, we're trying to improve things. We're trying to improve the experience. And so stage 6 early on was going to be a much shorter stage. And as quickly as we went through stages 2 and 3, I decided to bolt on the law library piece of things to make sure that we could extend it a little bit. Now, I didn't necessarily intend to extend it as long as it was, but that was kind of intentional. So we actually have one stage that we're still noodling on.
Okay.
So don't solve it super fast, guys.
Yeah. So we have some work to do on 8. We know structurally how it's going to be done, but we still have to put some things out there. And then stage 9 is a little bit of a blank slate for us. So we've got some interesting ideas, but you know, trying to
pretty much built.
You got to try to go through and make sure AI can't solve it, and make sure that's not as diabolical as collecting or connecting to unrelated arcs. So we'll see how it ends up. But this one is one and done. So I think we're just over the hour. So people are probably bored of listening to me talk. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
We're having fun.
Thank you.
Just one more plug for people to get the word out there. We would love to do another one of these next year. We'd like to get a few more players to help kind of fund that as well. Mike or Nick?
Awesome. Let me throw in the banner with our store there for the merch. I also threw the link into the comments as well. So yeah, have fun getting the boots on the ground and solving these things. I think it's a ton of fun. This was
I'll leave everybody
what
with
I sent you, right? Yeah, that was one of them. I think
that's the tree.
The infamous tree.
Yep.
Yeah, some people found that very early on and were like, I know where the tree is, I just don't know how it fits.
Gotcha. Because I think I sent you one very similar to that as I was doing something for a stage that we're actually not going to use for this particular hunt. I was super excited about it, and the thing that we were going to do just wasn't going to work out logistically. So, but it's ton. Even setting these things up, going out and going to places I've never been to before, and just getting out in nature has been a ton of fun, even from the setup side of things. So hopefully everybody's having a good time on the hunting side of things.
We do, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, let's head out and do some solving, and then we'll catch you guys with a hint at some point. Soonish.
Yeah, about a week. All right, let's happy hunting, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
See y'all.